You laugh, baby. What? We living the life or living the life? Or we living in the life? I'm living
We living our best life.
Exactly.
So you go live when you're living your best life.
Golden. Living my life like it's golden.
That's how you living. What? How you living? What? In living color. Why are you putting?
No, I'm not. I wasn't trying to. I'm trying to share the link with people. That's the only way I'm.
So you're my one viewer.
Hey, it's just me. I'm trying to share with people.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get people in here, right?
We're gonna live the life, whether it's just us 2 or 22.
We're gonna have a good time.
Because I went to church this morning.
Ooh.
And a spirit-filled life together was the message. But Pastor Felder has been talking about living a spirit-filled life for all of 2025. Right?
That's a good message.
But we are stronger together.
Stronger in numbers.
Yep. So it's time for people to be all in. Let's get our lives in order. And we're living the life. And today's cup is brought to you from Morehouse College. And there's my nephew, Colin Ryan Brown, class of 2024 in all his glory. Oh, and his whole government, huh? Software engineering program. Proud auntie. So I sippeth from the water cup of Morehouse, designed by his mother, Nikita Brown. Now it is brown in this cup this time. Last time it was clear, as in water. Why are you laughing?
Be funny.
It's just a little Pepsi, my little treat today. I don't really drink pop, but for some reason, I have a Pepsi from work Friday. So I'm drinking Pepsi. What's in your cup?
Courtesy of your bar, Don Julio Reposado, yellow lemonade.
You cracked the Reposado?
I could have found out the bottle that I cracked open last week.
I wonder why. What happened to it?
I didn't finish it.
See, your sister has a problem?
She's not 21 yet.
You got to be 21 to... You should be 21.
You should be 21.
But that's okay. We gonna get this party started, right? What do you think before in 2025?
I think before just being able to wake up every day. Every day I wake up, I have to say thank you to God every single day. I do. That's one thing I learned a few years ago in therapy with, I forgot, not who I forgot, but my therapist I had, we have the same name. Her name was Kyla. And this was like 2020, maybe 2021. I think 2020. And she was saying, get back into God, think about spiritually as well. And, just take your time. So it was like doing the mantras, the daily mantras, the before you go to bed also. So that part of life helped me get a little closer. So now in 2025, I still try to every single day. Thank God for it.
We are all a work in progress. So a praise report. So remember how I was saying Kendall, for y'all that don't know, my youngest daughter, I'm doing all this because of her and her struggles with mental health. But we recently joined the church, right? Remember I was talking about when we were on the way to church that first time in January, and she was nervous and she was rocking and shaking. And even when we were at church, she pulled out the Play-Doh. She was doing all of this.
Fidgeting and all that, yeah.
So the following week, she had a good time. The following week, she was on fire. She was okay with going. The week after that, not so much. So the youth pastor, you know how Kendall is, he like, I want you on my podcast team. I want you to do this and do that. So she told me the other day, she's like, yeah, I just got off a Zoom with the church. And I'm like, really?
On your own?
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, what for what? And she was like, I'm going to be on the youth ministry. And so we have a meeting on Thursday at the church. So when she got back from the church on Thursday, she says, yeah, I'm going to be responsible for reading the scriptures. I'm like, oh, how do you feel about that? And she's like, she felt good about it. So then fast forward to today, she had a good day. She read the scripture. She's like, she has to play a horn. So I don't know what they're doing, but she's going to be playing her instrument for the church as well for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, you know, when you start something, becoming a part of it makes a difference. That's what she said to me today. She said, I feel better about everything because I can be a part. I'm participating in more things more than just coming to church. So she says, we're going to be out of town when they do the kids' baptism on March 29th. And I said, okay, do you want to get baptized in April when everybody gets baptized, or do you want to wait for the next kids one? And she said, I want to get baptized as soon as possible. She told me that today. So I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Hey, Key. And then she says also today, maybe if she goes to school in Chicago, she'll be close enough where she can come back on Sundays and keep participating in the youth group.
Really?
So I'm like, Lord is listening to my prayers. I finally started walking with him and putting it all in his hands, and he's like turning things around, even for her. Wow. So I'm like, that's what I'm doing all of this for. So I was just so thankful. We'll get back to her another day. Y'all, I am not a podcaster. I keep being asked that. I guess that's what this is called. But I wanted to go live today to a continuation from last week, because we talked about so many things last week. And what's crazy is people have been reaching out to me. I had a coworker like walk up to me and hug me, right? And I'm like, are you okay? She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, I didn't know you had so much going on. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not sad about anything going on in my life. Like, it's okay. Have you?
From different coworkers and even friends. Like, I had a friend tell me that she didn't realize, and she knew in college I had the mental health, but she didn't realize it was schizophrenia. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what it was, girl.
So I'm like, okay, that's so sweet. People are concerned. And you know, when you start living purposefully too, like people gravitate towards you. Like there was literally this man at work earlier this week that came to me. He was looking for my boss, but he ended up seeing me. And he's like, I need some advice. I was about to start talking accent because he is African. But he needed some advice about dealing with his daughter and her own issues. So I was talking to him at length. He hadn't seen a podcast, no, I'm doing this or nothing. But he like, for some reason, he felt compelled to talk to me about those issues. I talked to a friend who has a son dealing with schizophrenia. So little bit different than your version, but nonetheless very concerning. Another friend we were inboxing, and she was like, the toll it takes working with people with schizophrenia, like it's stressful. So, you know, even as parents or employees, even coworkers, if you're dealing with somebody with schizophrenia, can be stressful.
And I think for on my end, a lot of people who have been showing their support are more so applauding you being I'm not gonna say your age, but a Black mother, a Black woman in general, acknowledging and taking the time to work on your mental health, and then also trying to help your kids. Like a lot of kudos have been given to you.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me be clear. I don't think I have mental health issues.
Well, you know, people associate therapy, mental health, and that was part of the problem growing up, where
I'm serious. I've never been diagnosed with anything. I just want to be clear. Like I call my therapy maintenance. Like I went to therapy because I was stressed about a certain situation in my life, but it wasn't leading to mental health issues. It was causing a lot of stress. And so I recovered from that, but I refuse to let go of my therapist because it's almost like maintenance and things come up. Like even with the inner child stuff, with her having me work on the inner child and learning that being groped as a young child is trauma. I never really thought about it. I never brought it up to her. And it took 2 years for that to even come up. Even talking about body issues and stuff like that, but not necessarily mental health. Because my purpose, as you know, is more about you all's healing. So I acknowledge that I may have some healing things to do, or I've passed down some not so great traits to you all. But I wouldn't call it mental health. Not that I'm against mental health, because if that's it. But it's just like, just acknowledging that your upbringing may have contributed to some of the issues that you all are experiencing.
Mm-hmm. But most people don't even get that from their parents. So,
Yeah.
so that was the thing. Like, a lot of my friends were just applauding you as a parent, acknowledging what part you may have had with my mental health, Kendall's mental health growing up, different traumas that may have been passed down. Like, they're just happy that you're acknowledging that, because some of their own parents still to this day don't acknowledge
denial about
they
it.
stuff. Yeah. So yeah.
Me and Kiasha were talking, I think yesterday, and I wish it's not in this journal. I got tons of journals. But she said something to the effect of, we were working, and Key, if you're still on here, type it for me if you remember. You get so busy working and trying to hold down a career that you forget that your kids still need parenting. And even as your kids become adults, they still need parenting. Like, I'll tell you right now, my parents still parent me. They support me. They provide for me, like all of that. So it's just like, I don't know how we got caught up in that. Like, we almost, like, we work, go lay in the bed, let you do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't care about like authentic experiences. Like, my mom and dad, like that, we went on vacations every year. Like, that was just a thing we did as a family. We had dinner together, like those type of things that my parents did with me, I didn't kind of do with you all, because I was so career driven. And I don't know if maybe that's part of being a single mom. I don't know. But just acknowledging that, like, I let a lot of things slip through the cracks, even like school stuff. Like, when you had meetings at school, I'd be like, y'all do what y'all want to do. I'm not taking over to come to no meeting. You know, remember that? I'm better with Kendall, but with you, I was like, I ain't taking off work to go to no meeting.
And our teacher be like, oh, meet your mom. Meet your mom. Like, you better call her, email her. She ain't coming up.
I'm going to work. Like, I didn't take the time. Like, up until, I would say probably up until maybe October of 2024, I probably was more concerned about pleasing my employer than pleasing my kids. And that's sad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a people pleaser. I want to perform. I want to do well. I don't want to take off work because that looks bad. But how am I not taking off work and I'm showing up for other people's kids and not my own? But that's a whole nother story. Let's talk about the schizophrenia. So I know we talked a lot about the entities attacking last week. That's in last week's live video. But I want to take it way, way back to when I think you may have started to develop, even though you say you didn't have many signs. So Kyla, when she was 4 years old, she was involved in an accident on a school bus. Her school bus was hit by an 18-wheeler, and she was sitting at the point of contact. So it knocked her to the other side of the bus, knocked her unconscious. She had a skull fracture and an orbital eye fracture. She was actually fractured. So she was the only kid on that bus that was
the most
severely injured, that had severe injuries. The crazy part is, too, I know her dad was on last week. His father, it happened in the village of Matson. If you all are from this area where the outlet mall is, where the car mall is, on Central and Lincoln Highway, before there was an auto mall, that was just a stop sign right there.
Before the family got
it was just a stop sign and empty corners. And a truck was coming off the expressway, and her school bus was crossing Central at the stop sign, and she got hit by a 18-wheeler. So that was my first news debut too. I was on the news because of that. I had some kind. I remember the little ponytail. I think Kiasha did for me. When she had my fan ponytail going, man, I was ready. I was ironically ready for TV that day. Okay, but your dad was on there too. We both were on the news from that. But I think the head trauma could have started some of the openness that led to the schizophrenia, and I did. You will find research that says that head trauma can lead to schizophrenia. But you said that you first remember hearing voices about what age? Did you say high school?
Where I knew it was a voice. When I knew it wasn't my own voice, high school.
So you don't remember any experiences with hallucinations or anything before that?
I'm 28 now. Let me think back. I mean, I can remember like thinking I saw a figure or something, but I took it as like, oh, you seeing things, like, okay, like anybody, like you're doing something, you think you see something out your peripheral, and that's why I chalk it up to like, oh, I just saw something out my eye, but it wasn't nothing there for real. But that's about the most when I was younger. But when I would play with dolls, it would be like imaginary friends, like that. But yeah, it did start off like imaginary friend because I was by myself, a kid playing the house, and then high school is when I noticed it started being not my own voice talking back to me.
Take me to around your senior year of high school,
Hmm.
where the suicidal ideations or attempts started.
So senior year of high school, I was senior class president, yearbook photographer. I did a lot senior year. I was very academic and leadership heavy in high school, but also at home at that time, you were we were all at Granny's house, but you were planning to not planning, but you moved to Oak Park, and you and Kendall both left in like the middle of the school year,
Mm.
and I remember being, a little sad that y'all left. Like I kind of felt like left behind, but granted, it was my senior year, last semester. What's the point of me transferring out my last
Right.
semester of senior year? Um, so yeah, but taking that aside, I felt like my mom and sister left me with the Old Park, and I'm stuck here. Not stuck, but left with my grandparents. So I was a little sad, a little hurt, But again, I was this emotional teenager, also at the same time too. Um, but yeah, so from that senior year, also being stressed with school, academics, college, all that stuff. Then at home, being sad that, I feel like my mom and sister have left me. Dad's not at home either. I just really have my grandparents, but they old school. I feel like I really can't talk to them. So I kind of felt like I was starting to put myself in a bubble, and I was feeling very alone at one point. That time of year in high school, and then eventually I can say, and I have admitted to this, covering this in therapy in the past, that yes, I feel like that's when the first voice kind of was adamant, but at first the voice was a nurturing type of thing, like that was my friend in a sense, because I just felt so alone. But then eventually, I felt like the depression and things of that sort started coming in. I also too, prom is coming around, so I wasn't eating. I literally was starving myself to the point where all I would eat in the day is maybe a bag of chips in a water bottle. Like that was it. Then also, but then when I get home, the voice is telling me, "Hey, they don't want you here for real. No one's even noticing." Because to me, that was a sign of, I want somebody to notice that I'm hurting. I want somebody to notice that I'm not myself. And I felt like nobody noticed, not at home, not at school, not a teacher, not a friend. Like I felt like nobody noticed. And only the voice hurt, and only the voice noticed. And the voice is telling me, hey, go in that medicine cabinet and take some pills, just end it all. And so my grandparents had a medicine cabinet, and I would go in there night after night for like a couple weeks straight, hoping that I wasn't waking up the next morning. And it was just really just all because I wanted somebody to pay attention to me. Because that's how lonely I was feeling. But I just like, no, I felt like no one was noticing. And then finally, I'm at my breaking point to where I'm like, man, this ain't working. I don't know what else to do. I mean, like, I don't want to go any extreme further than that, but I think it was a friend at school who noticed, and then the dean and the secretary in the dean's office, they noticed, and they literally was like, every single day, go get your lunch. You eat down here with us, because what you're not gonna do is keep telling me you're not eating lunch every day.
So for my Rich Township family, that would be Kapersky. Was that her name?
Kapersky, O'Day, and Miss Foster Thomas.
O'Day.
Yeah, mm-hmm. It was those three ladies in that office.
They noticed something I didn't even notice as a parent.
And when I say I was so grateful that someone finally noticed something was off, something was wrong. It felt like a breakthrough almost. And from there, it was like, say something, got to your mom, got to your grandparents. I think maybe one of them did call. I think one of them did call home and said something.
Not to me.
I think I told him to call Green. I feel like one of them called, or maybe they asked to call and they didn't call. I remember something about a phone call, but you know what? No, Miss Murray, the social worker. I started going to Miss Murray, and that was someone else who they brought in to help with that. I felt like maybe Miss Murray was going to call her, something like that. But anyway. But eventually, I said something at home, and things did get a little bit better. I felt like, and ended out my senior year on a happy note.
So I know you told me later they ended up putting you on free lunch. They took it upon themselves to get you a free lunch, and they made you go like to the nurse's office, was it? And make sure you ate. What? How did
I went to the dean's office.
Oh, the dean made sure you did.
I ate with them.
So around what? This is 2014 because this is the year you graduate. Can you give me an estimate around what month do you think this was? In 2014, I know it was before prom.
Probably like that January-ish, February maybe.
So I want to show you something. Look at that date. What's that date?
March 2nd, 2014. Yeah.
So I've been looking for this guy. Maybe somebody in here knows where he is if you grew up with me. So if you know Andre Hunter, went to high school with him. I think he graduated a year before me. He had a sister in our grade that graduated in 96, but he was from class of 95. I don't really I wasn't friends with Andre, but I knew him and we were Facebook friends. So I don't know anything about Andre's past history or who he is as a person, but I'll tell you this, and she's a witness. What does that say?
Andre Hunter.
March 2nd, 2014. I'm in my Facebook Messenger. Andre, the only thing he's ever sent me a messenger with things about his brand that he was promoting. Just one thing, but on March 2nd, 2014, Andre sends me this message and I didn't understand or know how to interpret it. And it says this: here, I have a prayer for you to use whenever needed. Okay, just got it, did it, and tailored it. Glory. And this is what his prayer to me says. And again, I just know him from high school, but we're not friends like that. He says, Father, I humbly come before you, acknowledging that it's not me, but you that lives in me. And right now, I reverse the curses and witchcraft that may have been thought, spoken, or acted out, whether known or unknown. And not only bind up all backlash and retaliation while sending everything back to the sender and pits of hell, but also ask you to cover me more than ever, removing every burden and giving me the deliverance needed from the everyday attachments of life. As I steer clear of things, you stay focused on you, your word and your voice, refraining from becoming disillusioned and religious as most have become in this world today. I put on the full armor of God, your breastplate of righteousness, helmet of salvation, and utilize the sword of the Spirit while placing a hedge of protection and a refreshed mind of Christ, that every thought come into captivity and all flesh under subjection to the power and spirit of the Most High God in me. I bind up all doubt, fear, anxiety, stress, unnecessary weight, and anything that may come to hinder the sole purpose and destiny we designed to do while on this earth, as I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I thank you for calling and choosing me. I give you honor and praise and glory. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen. Andre tells me to recite this prayer whenever I need to. And I just simply respond. I said, Andre. He says, hey, Frida, how are you? And I said, tell me, what made you send that prayer? I'm very curious. He says, God. And I said, he spoke to you and told you to send this to me. Andre responds, is that surprising? God knows what we need, even when we don't. Andre writes that back to me. And Andre says, I'm just obedient. And I said, incredible. I swear whenever I have internal conflicts or doubts, he sends me the most relevant messages through vessels that I would never expect. However, I don't know Kyla is going through what she's going through, right? And he says, that's how we know it's God. God is amazing, yada, yada, yada. I say, thank you. He says, you're welcome. That is right around the time you're going through what you're going through. And I don't even know that you're going through all these things. And he's telling me to say a prayer, protecting myself with the armor of God. Mm-hmm. I should say, how crazy is that? But it's not crazy because it's just that it's God, right? So when you think about that, so then you're battling that, you're taking pills, you're pretty much suicidal around this time. I think you're losing weight because you want to look good for prom, and I'm not with you every day because I'm in Oak Park, so I'm only seeing you on the weekends. Fast forward, you get to college. She gets attacked by these entities. One is a physical one, and like tries to break her legs, and like she's being physically dragged off the bed, and things like this are happening. She's being scratched by these entities and all of that. February 2015. So that's after all of this happens. Eventually, I say to myself, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. I was being attacked, and Andre kind of warned me with that during prayer. Mm-hmm. So I go back to Andre's Facebook page, and I tell Andre it makes sense now. I had no idea how much harm my family was in, and I say thank you. Andre doesn't respond. January of this year, I go to Andre's inbox again and say thank you again. Mind you, 2015 to 2025, 10 years later, I'm still not getting a response out of Andre. I don't know where he is. I don't.
His page has no activity.
His page has no activity, hasn't in years. The only thing on his page is people telling him happy birthday every year. So if anybody knows what Andre Hunter is, please tell him I'm trying to reach out to him. But he has not been on this Facebook page in probably 10 years.
He has to just come drop a little nugget and dip.
And disappear. It's like the most amazing thing to me. It just gives me goosebumps. But going back to the schizophrenia. So I'll never forget this. We're driving back to Chicago. We're on the campus. I talk about this more in the other video, but we're on the campus. They send us to Chicago and say, get help in Chicago. My daughter was in Springfield when she was attacked. I'm driving back. I'm on the phone with my sister, and I'm like telling her everything that happened. Like, girl, she got scratched. She got beat up. I'm telling my sister all this stuff. And Kyle act like you're driving. She just looks at me and they're telling me to grab the steering wheel and crash the car.
They said you were talking too much.
And then she just looks back straight ahead.
They said you were telling our business.
I said, Nikki, I gotta get off this phone. And I'm just driving like this. I'm like,
I'm like, telling our business, Mama. You was talking too much.
At first, I was gonna stop at Richton Park at my mama's house because we going down 57. I'm like, hell no, I'm going straight to Rush University, straight to the west side. I couldn't wait to get to this hospital. I'm like, my baby is going crazy. She wants to crash the car.
It told me to pull that wheel and just
I can laugh now, but I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, what is in you? Because you've never had any signs of violence or any kind of anything. So it was just like, this is not her. You cannot tell me that this is not her. We get to Rush. They have us in this holding room, and apparently all the noise has stopped because she's telling me she's not hearing anything. She's not seeing anything. They finally get us to the floor where she's the ward or whatever. And so they let me up on the ward. So I don't remember this because the Rush is huge, right? Yeah. So you're overlooking, like I can see 290.
Yeah.
And it's dark and it looks so creepy on this ward. And I turn around to the lady and I'm like, I'm going to sign her out. I can't leave her here. And the lady was like, oh, you have to leave her here. And I'm like, I can't leave her here. She's like, the lady's like, no, you sign her over until she is treated. She cannot leave. And I was like, oh my God, I was so devastated. I cried all the way to the car because I'm like, I've never had to go through this process of admitting somebody into a mental ward, all of that. You know, I didn't truly understand how it all worked. So of course I was coming back every single day during visiting hours to check on her.
She would bring me Chipotle, y'all, and KFC. I was even good visiting hours.
But Malika asked me on a post, and she was asking, did they do any like CAT scans, MRIs before they diagnosed you? I didn't even realize this till you just said something because you said yes.
Yeah, they did. Mm-hmm.
And when they showed you your brain scan, what did they say?
So they showed what my brain scan looked like compared to someone my age at the time. I was 18, and they said mine had a lot of abnormalities in the CAT scan to represent the signs of schizophrenia and depression. That's what it was, schizophrenia and depression. So whatever, you know, I know a lot of people have the CAT scans and they'll show different colors to represent different things. Whatever the color that was supposed to represent the mental health, it was all over the place. the schizophrenia on my brain CAT scan compared to what it should have looked like. And they're like, oh yeah, something's up. Something's wrong.
So I know from working with children, a lot of people experience symptoms of schizophrenia, but I know it's not typically diagnosed super young. It usually the onset is 16 and a little older. But they talk about some things that can induce it, and it could be life events, trauma, some heredity. Because when I think about it, like I could think of a family member, an extended family member in our family that hallucinates all the time, sees entities. He's older now, if he's been diagnosed, I don't know it. But so there could be a family history that caused it. Childhood trauma can onset some of this, and even drug use, like marijuana use. And I'm not even joking. I'm just not a marijuana user, never have been. But from what I understand, like when it puts you in a certain state, you can kind of hallucinate or see things and things like that. So imagine if you have some of these triggers or some of the history, and then you're smoking marijuana. Imagine what it can do to you and cause you to have other hallucinations. And it looks different in different people. Like for her, it's the hallucinations. I've heard of people that like may hear noises in their ears, ringing in their ears, or a train going through. Can you imagine hearing a train 24/7?
Well, I mean, I hear ringing in my ears all my life. To this day, I hear ringing in my ears. I just took it up to my ear problems.
So that goes back to the schizophrenia symptoms may have been way before you remember the voices.
Yeah.
And it could go back to head trauma or heredity. You still hear ringing in your ears? You think that's normal? Even with ear problems?
All my life, I've been hearing ringing. And when I go to the ear doctors and tell them I hear ringing, like no one can help me with it. It's like they'll clean my ears out, oh, maybe it's the wax or blah, blah, blah. And
this is a prime example of why you got to talk to your kids, even as adults, because I didn't know that. And while we think that you're healed or you no longer experience symptoms of schizophrenia, you do.
Yeah.
It just looks different right now.
Now it's not every day, but it'll come and go. It's not as intense as it used to be. I remember at one point, the ringer would stop. I would have to stop what I'm doing to like hold my ears closed because it would be that intense. It used to be that bad, but now it'll come a little bit and then I can keep doing what I'm doing. It'll go away. But yeah, it's not as intense as it used to be. It doesn't come as often as it used to be. But I still do get the ringing in the ears. Yes.
So when we get off this phone on this live, well, it's Sunday. Tomorrow, we're going to call Kendall's psychiatrist and we're going to get you an updating evaluation to see what that is. Because it's probably related to the schizophrenia. Is my guess. I'm no doctor. But it's not going away. But the symptoms that led to the hospitalization, like the seeing things and stuff like that, when was the last time you remember seeing entities? Or feeling entities?
It's been a while. Not since college. When did I leave UIS? I was about 21. I don't know what year that would have been. Probably like 2017, 2018 is when I left Springfield. So I feel like around that time was the last time I've seen a figure, the last time I heard a voice. I feel like it was about 2018, 2017. But I was down in Springfield.
Do you remember? I remember. You remember the first time you saw something physical? I don't know if the first time, but I remember you telling me. Like when you moved to that apartment that was kind of close to campus and you saw like a dark figure. Do you remember that?
Oh, okay. I mean, it probably, I know it happened, but I don't remember that one, that specific.
Do you remember ever seeing dark figures?
Yeah, down in Springfield all the time, yeah.
Was it just in your home or did you see them other places?
Around campus, to the point where I thought the figure was following me. Like would pop up randomly. It almost gave like, I don't want to say Grim Reaper, but like it gave like someone was a hooded figure. Like they were, I never saw the person's face, whoever it was, but it was someone in black clothing, hooded, but it gave like Grim Reaper, but without his fear, whatever that thing's called. But
and it was always the same figure?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, as I can recall, yeah, I want to say it was the same figure every time. Yeah, but around campus, I could be sitting in the cafeteria eating, and I happen to look up, and they could be 30 feet away. It's like, oh shit. Sorry, I'm cursing. Low shoot. I mean, it's like I wanted to break my attention away because I was nervous that it might got closer, or I'm around friends and I didn't want to tweak out or look like a mental case. Like, y'all see that? So a lot of things I would keep internal until maybe I got to my therapist or, would share with them or whatnot. But yeah. Oh yeah, I saw figures all in class, cafeteria, my apartment, everywhere around campus. Springfield held a lot of darkness. A lot of my entities happened in Springfield. A little bit here at home, but most of it was in Springfield.
Was it figures here?
I never saw figures, but I heard voices. I would hear voices when I was home, but I never saw figures at home. I only saw figures on campus. But not this home. Granny's house is when I would hear voices, whenever we at Granny's house.
Did the medication take the edge off? Did it stop it?
I felt like a new voice popped up.
What?
One voice would go, another voice would pop up. I remember sitting in class and it was twins in my head talking. I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to focus.
What were they talking about? What do you mean?
That was over 10 years.
Like they having a conversation with themselves or with you?
Both. And I'm in a dead middle of a lecture and it came like out of nowhere. I'm dead middle of a lecture. And it's like, hey, Kyla, hey. It was like, okay, Kyla, don't start tweaking in public because you're in public right now. Oh, a lot of things. And I think that's the thing, a part of mental health, like high functioning mental health, people don't realize. You never know what someone next to you might be going through who you're sitting next to. Because it's been plenty of time. And if anybody on here with the college with me, it's been plenty of time you might have been sitting next to me and I was tweaking out of my head, but you never knew. Because I'm trying to internally hold it in because I don't want to look like a basket case to the public, to the world. A lot of things I held inside. Mm-hmm. From.
I'm sorry.
Again, I haven't heard a voice in probably 8 years. It's been a long time.
What's it here, Lord? I know you've never told me about that part. I didn't know. I do know. I remember being at mom's house shortly after you were released from the hospital. I don't know if you remember this.
I remember. I was just about to say it. It was about the same time. The twins popped up in college. Then when we was at Granny house one time, it was like a lady who, okay, y'all know the ladies back in the army, they would be dancing for the army. What you call them ladies? They would come perform for the army guys or whatever. That lady was talking to me in my head, sitting there at the table, and then y'all playing too much, go ask me questions to ask the lady. So they literally asking me questions, and I'm pausing, and the lady's responding to me the answer, and I'm saying the answer out loud. That was probably the most like tripped out experience right there, because for the voice to respond back to someone other than me. That was the first time it ever happened before. That freaked me the heck out. I'm like, is this a new, can I make money off of it? Can I be a psychic now? That was in my head.
That was going to be my next point. Because last time I made a comment and I said, is schizophrenia for everybody really schizophrenia, or is it a gift that you're afraid of? Because I remember you had that Reiki class.
Yeah.
And what did your instructor tell you?
What did he tell me?
Remember,
we had a lot of different conversations. Me and my dad instructor, he liked me. We had some good conversations.
Yeah, he thought you had a gift, but why did he think you had a gift? Because he wanted to explore it with you.
Oh, because we did one of the class sessions. He did a Reiki, not ceremony, but experience with us, and it was on Zoom. It was a virtual class, and one of the things he was walking us through with our eyes closed on Zoom, it was pretty much you were trying to, whatever he was saying, what were you creating, what, like in your safe space in your head. So it started off like, oh, imagine yourself walking down a path. What do you see on this path to your left and your right? Okay, you get to the end of the path is now a door. What does the door look like? when you open the door, what does that room look like when you open, or what's the door to a house? Is it a door to a cave? Like, but everything, the answers to were in your head, what you wanted it to be, but he was just prompting us with the questions. But the thing that really struck him was when you got to the part, like you were open the door, got into the room, and it was supposed to be someone, this person in the house, who are you talking to, getting advice from, blah, blah, blah. And I had two people in my home, in my mind. So I had my living grandfather, your dad, and then my deceased grandfather, Papa, my dad's father, both pop up. But I purposely was trying to think of Grandpa Fred, your dad. But the way the narration was going, I was picturing Grandpa Fred, but Papa was talking to me during the narration. So when the class was over and I asked to talk to the professor afterwards, and I told him my experience, I was like, that was a little different. Because the whole class was like, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. I was the only one who was like, oh, I had two people in my thing. He was like, we're going to talk after class. And I was like, oh, yeah, because I want to talk to you, because that was weird to me. And he was like, he asked, like, oh, well, one of your grandfathers deceased. I'm like, yeah, my papa, the one who was trying to talk to me in that scenario. And he said he hasn't passed on. He said Papa is still here walking this earth, something he wasn't able to do when he was living. And he's still trying to do it. That's why he cannot pass on. That's why he was able to visit you in your scenario, what you were doing. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So yeah, we would talk all the time. Like, he was really in tune. I was in tune with what he was saying, and he was in tune with what my experience were, with what he was saying.
So I swear to God, I don't remember hearing all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But remember when we went to see that psychic
mm-hmm.
up in Oswego, wherever she was,
near Aurora,
somewhere past Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
My right hand to God, she said the same thing about him.
Mm-hmm.
She said, and I don't know if your dad is watching or if we ever told him this.
I know I told my dad my experience.
Because she did our reading separate, but he showed up in both of our readings. Mm-hmm. And she said that this man, he's walking in the middle and he's sad. She said that he feels like his work here wasn't done and he's having a hard time crossing over. Mm-hmm. And that he was so concerned about LT, your dad.
Yep.
And like how he didn't do enough and he failed him. But she said the same thing, that he was stuck somewhere in the middle and he was not able to cross over. So your Reiki instructor picked that up too and said that's why he
based
was able
off
to come through.
Of what I was picturing in my head with whatever he was instructing us to do. And the fact that Papa popped up, it was supposed to be like whoever person you get advice from or a person of wisdom is sitting in this chair. Who's sitting in the chair? And I put Grandpa Fred in the chair. But Papa literally popped up and was like, well, how come you ain't pick me? Pick me. Like, he was like in my thing, like, well, don't forget about me. Like, he was, and again, it's whatever I wanted to be, whatever I wanted the path to look like, the door to look like, the room to look like, the person to be. And I'm just thinking of whoever's living, Grandpa Fred, and Papa popped up like, don't forget about me. I'm over here too. And I thought that was really weird. Like, wow, he's talking to me during this experience. And when I told my professor that, he was like, yeah, that doesn't happen often. And I forgot it was a certain like color coordinating, something with energy. He said something I did or in that experience. He was like, yeah, your grandfather can't pass on. That's the problem. That's why he was able to connect to you. And I told him about the time, it was like my 23rd or 24th birthday. And it was like, the sleeping, didn't going to wake up to the day of my birthday. But when I was asleep, I had a dream. And in the dream, I, whatever I was doing, and I hear someone's like, hey. And I looked over in the dream, and it was Papa. He was like, hey, want to say happy birthday, baby girl. Love you. Bye. And I in my like sleep can feel myself smiling and then turned back to whatever I was doing in my dream. And I remember waking up, I think I told you that I actually think he like, Papa popped up in my dream, but he never popped up in my dreams before, like ever. But he came to tell me happy birthday. And that it was like, oh my gosh, it was Papa. But I was dreaming about like probably about to go to a party or something, like something where Papa shouldn't have been in the dream. And he's like, hey, Pooh Bear, happy birthday, love you. And kept it pushing. And I told my instructor that too, and he was like, "Yeah, he can't pass on." So he's stuck to you all, and he's going to continue popping up in different areas of your life until he's able to pass on. He has to finish whatever it is that he wasn't able to finish before he can pass on to the next life.
I wonder if he's passed on now. I remember the day that he passed away. I felt him holding my hand that night because he was probably the closest person that I've had pass away besides my grandfather, and I knew him better than I knew my grandfather. So that night, I remember I was in the bed. I was just like crying a little bit, like, wow, what have you. And I kept hearing, "It's okay." And I kept feeling like this pressure in my hand and it's tingling. I'm like, that's got to be him. So very interesting. So saying that to say, maybe what you're experiencing is a gift that has been labeled as a mental health disorder. Just about. I'm not no doctor,
but I haven't had any antecedents in years though. No voices, no figures, anything like that. I haven't had that happen in years.
Somebody asked what helped get rid of the voices. Was it the medication, the therapy, whatever?
I think it was, yes, I was on medication. I didn't like the way the medication took a toll on me physically. Like I gained weight. Like I was on medication for the schizophrenia, depression, and insomnia. So I was taking 3 different pills. Over a course of about 3 years, I was taking medication. Eventually getting off of it. I mean, throughout the 3 years, medication increased, decreased, switched over different brands, all that stuff. I don't think any one medication worked the best. I think it was therapy that helped and finding different coping skills to help. Like, for example, one therapist I had was like, when a voice pop up, tell it go away.
That's what Nikki said. My sister said,
tell it go away. And so that, like stop entertaining it. So that was one thing I had to work on. Like, you're right, stop entertaining these voices, tell it to go away, because if they're not leaving me alone, they're not bothering me. I won't hear them. I think also when I was saying the beginning of this video, starting like my daily mantras with God, like. And that was also kind of, and I revisited too when I got in a Reiki class, because a lot of things he talked about was daily mantras and things of that sort. But I took it a step further and tied it to religion. Like, oh, thank you, God, for waking me up this morning. Surround me with nothing but light, block all darkness that tries to attack me, myself, or my family. Like, as soon as I wake up, open my eyes, daily mantra. Before I go to bed, daily mantra. So it took a lot of personal efforts to stop the schizophrenia and stop the voices. And eventually the doctor at Springfield was like, "You haven't had an episode in how long? Get off this medication." He was like, you don't see that happen. He's like in all his years in his medical profession, he's never seen a patient get diagnosed with schizophrenia and then eventually say they don't hear the voice anymore and have to wean off the medication. So he was, that was a success story for him too. He was happy about that. So yeah.
So maybe that reinforces the idea that maybe it is spiritual and not medical. But I mean, that's not the case for everyone, because I know the friend I talked to a couple of days ago, she was saying her son hit him about, I think she said around age 20, and just doing crazy things like outside, barefoot, breaking in cars, like just all these things all of a sudden happening that are just abnormal that he's doing, and in and out the hospital, and just so it looks different for everybody. I know we hear a lot of homeless people where you see them talking to themselves and hallucinating, like it's gotten so bad that family can't support them and they end up on the streets. So there are levels to it.
I was talking to, me and my friends went out yesterday, and we brought up the video and whatnot. One of my friends did, and she was saying, the friend you see at church, she was saying, she like, you don't take medication. You have. I said, not for years. And she said, before I could even say it, like, she's like, it has to be something attacking you. Had to be. And I'm like, yeah, got to be, had to be.
And it's so funny you say that, because when I think about Kendall and saving my younger daughter, like there's an attack. That's how I look at it with her. Like there's an attack on her that's been there for a long time. that I wasn't able to see as being an attack. Like take very closely look at your kids and their mannerisms. The one thing I wanted to bring up, we always joke about the kids wearing hoodies in the summertime. Check your kids' arms. Check for the self-harm. My daughter, when she got her hair straightened, her bangs was gonna cover her face. She's looking down. She's in her room messy when it too, like can't even like clean things up. Like you're not gonna beat this out of these kids. You're not gonna punish it out of them. Like there's something attacking them and we're not seeing it for what it is. And this is just my perspective. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a pastor, super religious, but that's what I see.
Attacking them through these entities. It might be their friends. You don't know what they got going on.
The apps, Discord,
the social media. You don't know what's attacking your kids these days.
Even Kyla, when part of her healing journey, they had her write a letter to me about her journey of the issues she had. So that's how I knew about the taking the pills. But you also wrote in there how you were self-harming, and I didn't know it. She was like 9 or 10 years old, and she said she had saw an episode of Tyra Banks, and it was about self-harm, and the girl was using duct tape to rip her skin apart. And Kyla was bullied, and she was using duct tape to rip her skin apart. And guess why I never saw it? Because she's wearing long sleeve shirts all the time. And that she's 9 or 10 years old. My oldest daughter went through the self-harm thing. With her, it hurt. Like she said, like her cuts were real little, like she couldn't do it. But she's had suicide attempts, like she's taking the pills and other things. And that's the other thing. Like my younger daughter, you only hospitalized once. My younger daughter has been hospitalized 3 times. So the first time I was almost like I was with you the first time, but I knew I had to leave her, so I didn't even ask to take her. By the 3rd time, I was barely going to visit. Like, girl, get your life in order. I'll pick you up when discharge day. Like, it was like, I'm not coming up here every day to visit you. Like, get healed.
All I know is, well, I think it's the difference between the kid psych ward and the adult psych ward. The adult psych ward, baby, I said, I don't never, ever, ever want to come back in this place ever again. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get up out of here.
But I think I mentioned that to Mom, too. Like, she was going to Camp Cupcake psych wards. Like,
not me, Kendall.
Kendall was. And I'm like, I probably should have sent her ass to River Edge or Hartgrove because it might have stopped. You know what I'm saying? Instead of running up to Naperville, like, oh my God, I'm worried that, she's going to experience, some bad things. But like, I've literally seen it like in my previous district, like kids wanting to go to the hospital because they heard they could get food and like
all the attention.
Yeah. And they're doing things.
From people at home.
Yeah. But how did they even know this is a thing? Like with Kendall, she said she knew about you said Tyra Banks. She said she learned off TikTok that self-harm was a thing. So that's how she knew that, stop the pain, cut yourself. So they're taking in so much stuff on social media and through their friends. And she had a friend that had some real trauma going on that had been hospitalized. When Kendall was going through all her stuff, I'm like probing the doctors, like, you got to get out of her. What's happening? Is she being abused? What is it? Like they never could find what that thing was that was causing her to have this level of care. Hope she don't mind. But the 3rd time, the suicide of the pills. Now, this was the 2nd time she had taken a bunch of pills. She overdosed on her own psych pills. Luckily, it was so painful for her. She said she would never do it again. The throwing up and all of that. So I got her phone. So I'm going through her phone and I find this app Discord. And on there, she's like corresponding. She probably could hear me in the basement, but she said we could talk about her issues. So I did get her permission. She'll be coming on eventually. Not today though. But anyway, I'm going through her chats and I see she's chatting with this person and she's asking them about their relationship. And the person says something about, well, I thought we were just friends. I didn't know that you wanted more than that. So I guess it upset my daughter. She's, then she goes to her friend group. It's the middle of the night to like tell them like I'm feeling away, but they probably sleep, so they're not responding to her. So her next response was to go take these pills to stop the pain from this person. And this person was very nice to her. Like the person didn't say anything mean. They were just like, well, I thought we were just friends. This person lived in Hawaii. They didn't even live anywhere near Chicago. You know, so it took something that small to take her over the edge. And a lot of our kids are that level of sensitive that it's something small that's taking them over the edge. It's bigger than bullying. It's that need for love and attention. So that's why I said I got to figure out and work on me and figure out why I was not able to give her that love and attention she needed so that she did not have to command that from other people. Because I would have loved for her to be able to come in my room and wake me up and say, Mom, I'm going through this. Help me through it. But she wasn't at that space. So she is now, but she wasn't then. So those are the things I think about, like, how do I foster that love and nurturing and caring, which I think I'm an open mother, but it shouldn't lead to that level of relationships. And I'm gonna tell y'all, I see it every day in the schools. Like,
I was just about
for
to
the
say
last
that.
5 years, I've seen it. Like the things that are sending these kids to the hospital, you'll be like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, this kid is suicidal over what? Like, they not us. They not like us. They not like the teenagers of the night. They just not, y'all. I'm telling y'all. Look after your kids and pay attention. They need a lot of love and attention. And what they call bullying is comical.
No, for real.
No, seriously, it's comical. Because back in the day, being bullied was
torture.
And we didn't even have social media, and it was torture. It don't take much. It don't take much. I see you looking at your watch. I think we have both got to get out of here. But I just wanted to just finish up that conversation with you about the schizophrenia. And I'm not a podcaster, y'all. I wanted to be a video vlogger was my purpose. I just learned that if I'm going live every week and all of that, that's more like podcast lane. I don't know much about that lane yet, but honestly, I just wanted to document our journey and our growth. And I felt like with my youngest, if we could talk about things and be more open, it may help her some. So that's where all of this is coming from. Kyla, I didn't mean to throw you in the mix like this.
Yeah, I didn't know all my little history and trauma was gonna be put on blast for the whole world.
I didn't know.
y'all think I'm interested, huh?
But living with schizophrenia does not have to look like living under a bridge. I mean, that's the bottom line.
I have a whole place, old car, work full time, overtime, all that good stuff,
and ringing in her ears. And she's a good worker. I mean, she's a workhorse. Like she can run a school. Like that's her gift. So thank you guys for interacting with us. I don't know when I'll see y'all again, but any last words from you, Kyla?
I think I want to say thank you for taking the time to even acknowledge
this dog farted. Lord legend. Okay, I'm sorry. He's
I ain't smell nothing. Okay. Anyway, but taking the time to acknowledge how to help myself and to help Kendall. I'm not gonna say I don't need help. I can always need help, but I think the biggest focus is for Kendall. Because like we keep saying, like I'm almost 30. I've been to therapy plenty of times. I feel like I am healed and able to talk and laugh about these things that have happened, my trauma, but Kendall's not there yet. So to get Kendall there, I'm glad we're having this conversation and started from the beginning. So I do appreciate that. For the people listening and watching, definitely. Because I work in middle school, and baby, they need y'all love and attention. They really do. They are getting it from any and everybody. They don't care if it's a custodian. They want somebody to talk to them, somebody to listen to them, somebody to hear them out.
That is a fact. And she ain't the lunch lady, the custodian.
They don't care who it is. All because their mama and daddy at home not paying them any attention. That's really what it comes down to. So definitely please wrap your arms around your babies at home. I don't care if they're 6 or 26. Wrap your arms around them. Have the conversation with them. Check their stuff for sure. Because I feel like I wasn't big on social media. Well, social media was my generation coming up, but you didn't really have to check it. I wasn't want to put stuff on social media growing up, but I had journals and diaries. You was reading my diaries from here on out.
I got a million of them.
But anyway, yes, check your kids, loving your babies, because it does matter. It makes a big difference. It does.
And if you don't have a church home, we would love to see you at New Faith Baptist International Church under Reverend Felder. You can watch online. It's live streamed at newfaith.org, or you could come in person. I would love to have you come visit and sit and worship with me. So with that, thank you very much. Live a spirit-filled life. I love y'all.
Bye, y'all. Have a great day.